my name is Jelle for Calisthenics Worldwide, and today we'll be talking about calisthenics for beginners and how to start calisthenics. So calisthenics in general is all the forms of training where you use your body weight as resistance, but also sometimes you can use some tools like, for instance, your gymnastics rings, parallettes, and also rubber bands to progress through your training. But also you can add some weights to your training, and then it will be called weighted calisthenics or street lifting. But for the rest, if you want to start calisthenics, all you need is actually a floor and maybe some chairs, and then you can start as well. Calisthenics is a word that is derived from Old Greek, from the words kalos and stenos, which means beautiful and strength, so beautiful strength. Calisthenics has been growing also because of the internet. So first there were a lot of teams and athletes that were making YouTube videos, and everybody was getting inspired by these videos. Then people got on Facebook as well, and they started Facebook groups to get together with other practitioners as well. And then it started getting big on Instagram and later on TikTok. There's a website called Calisthenics Parks where you can find a calisthenics park near you so that you can connect it with other practitioners as well. The basics of calisthenics are considered to be push-ups, dips, pull-ups and chin-ups. But the sport has been known through iconic movements like human flag, muscle-ups, planche and also front lever, and also you have, for instance, your dragon flag like Bruce Lee did, but also you have Hephaestus, you have your handstand push-ups, and you have back lever as well. And when it comes to freestyle, you have all your moves like, for instance, the 360, 540, now 720 as well, 900s, and even someone landed a 1080. But also you have your moves like shrimp flip, ganger, you have alley-oops, you have frisbee, front flip, regrabs, and together with all of those statics movements and also your power dynamics, you have endless combinations that you can build. But wait a minute, calisthenics can seem kind of intimidating or daunting at the beginning when you look at all of those freestyle moves and all of those crazy static holds. Go step by step and enjoy the journey while you're going for your goals. So let's start at the beginning. I started calisthenics at home. I did a lot of push-ups in my room, and my friend and cameraman Jorik was doing a lot of handstands as well. Also, you can start at the calisthenics park, but sometimes this can be quite daunting if you see very strong people train there in the park. But just know that it's a very open community and you can just ask questions whenever you have those and learn from each other. Also, you can go to the gym, then you can ask the personal trainers there how to get started, and when you get better you can also start adding weight to your trainings. But in general, you can also start doing calisthenics anywhere, like for instance in an urban environment or in the nature when you have, for instance, tools like parallettes. So let's get started with some general principles that you need to know before you want to begin calisthenics. So now that we're at the calisthenics park, we first want to do a good warm-up. This we want to do to prevent injuries in the long run. And what we want to do first is we want to get our heart rate up. This so that we will be ready to start moving. We want to consider what kind of exercises we'll be doing during our training. Then we can do some dynamic stretches so that we warm up specific parts of the body that we'll be using during the training. And we can also use some bands for that. So then you can start, for instance, warming up your wrists. We can also do the elbows, the shoulders. We can warm up the neck, the spine, and the hips. And when we want to do leg exercise during the training, we can also warm up the knees and the ankles. And then what we want to do is we want to do an easier version of the exercises that we'll be doing during the training. So when we want to do pull-ups, then for instance, we can do some rows before getting started. So when we are doing our exercises, we always want to use good form, and of course this differs per exercise, so we will be discussing that more in detail per exercise later. Also, what you want to consider in general, you want to do full range of motion during your training. Then we have different kind of ways of changing exercises up. When we want to make an exercise easier, then we can change the center of mass. We can also change up the angles to make exercise easier, and we can also do assisted versions with, for instance, the rubber bands. When we are doing a pull-up, sometimes people don't go all the way up or they don't go all the way down. So then we can change up or add an exercise during the training, like for instance your scapula pull-ups, so that we work specifically on our weaknesses. Then another thing that we can do is we can do a movement in a negative manner or in an eccentric way, and we can, for instance, go from the top slowly down. And another thing that we can do is we can do holds. So then we can specifically target areas of a movement, like for instance the top hold of a pull-up, and work on those specifically. Before we talk about the real basics of calisthenics, we want to explain to you that there are small movements in calisthenics that you really need to understand for all kinds of exercises. So one of the movements is shoulder protraction. So that is very important for instance, your planche. And also you want to know that retraction is when you have your shoulder blades together, which is very important for front lever, for instance. Also, you have your depression, which is when you have your shoulders down, and you also have your elevation when you have your shoulders up. And then you want to understand that there are a lot of different grips that you can do on the bar as well. So one of them is supinated grip, which is for your chin-ups. You have pronated grips for your pull-ups. You also have false grip, which is very important for when you want to do muscle-ups, for instance, for the transition. Also, you have a mixed grip, which means that you have different grips on both sides. And also you have neutral grip when you do chin-ups on the monkey bar, for instance. And then you have all kinds of different widths of grips. So you have your narrow grip, your normal grip, and then you have wide grips as well. When we talk about the real basics of calisthenics, we don't just talk about push-ups, pull-ups, chin-ups, and dips, but we also can do your dead hangs. So dead hangs is just simply hanging on a bar, and like this you can do all the different variations that we just discussed with all kinds of grips, all kinds of widths as well. So you have a lot of variation in this, and it's super important for your grip strength, and also it's very good to prevent shoulder injuries, like for instance shoulder impingement. So when I had a small injury on my shoulder, the physiotherapist actually advised to do narrow grip ones, so you stretch everything, and that actually took care of all of my problems. Also, you can work on your straight arm strength. So straight arm strength in daily life you don't use as much. So it's very important when you're getting started to, for instance, work on straight arm holds on the dip bar. When you do this, it's very important to have your elbows locked, to have your ears very far away from the shoulders, and also have your chest forward. So another thing you can do for straight arm strength is, for instance, a plank. Like this will build you up to do your push-ups, and then also you want to have your elbows locked and you want to push down on the floor and do protraction. So another thing is that you can do low squats. Ido Portal had a challenge where you had to do 30 minutes a day of low squatting for 30 days long. And this is very good to do for your mobility, for the ankles, for the knees, for the hips, and also for your lower back. Also, you have a challenge from Ido Portal as well, which is 7 minutes of hanging a day. So you can get started with that as well. Another very important movement, which is very important for all kinds of exercises, is how you tilt your pelvis. So you have posterior pelvic tilt and anterior pelvic tilt. And when you do anterior pelvic tilt, you push your belly button out and you squeeze your glutes. And when you do posterior pelvic tilt, then you pull your belly button in. So two good exercises for that is your hollow body hold and your Supermans. And when you do those exercises, it's very good to train because you really train your deep core muscles, and this is very good for the stability of your lower back. So now that we're at the Blue Park, we will be discussing the basics of calisthenics. So first we start off with push and pull. So we talk about the dips, push-ups, pull-ups, and chin-ups. And then we get to the core exercises. So those have the end goal of getting your toe touches, skin the cats, and also your V-sits. And then last but not least, we'll talk about the leg exercises like the squat, lunges, and calf raises. So we already discussed all of the different principles on how to make exercise easier. So now we will be applying those to all of the specific exercises.
So when we want to be doing dips, we can build up to the real thing by doing banded dips. Of course, you still want to have good form. You want to have your ears away from the shoulders. You want to have your chest forward, and you want to go at least until 90 degrees. So when you want to do banded ones, you put the resistance band onto the dip bar, and then you jump into it, and you have the band a little bit below the knees. And also what we can do is negative dips. So then we can jump into a straight arm hold and slowly go down, jump up again, and do that for reps. We can make it harder when you already have your dips by doing more reps, or we can do weighted dips as well. And when we want to learn the muscle up, then we can even go for more range of motion, which means that we're gonna go even lower than 90 degrees, and then we can work on our straight bar dips as well. So when we are doing our push-ups, we want to be as straight as a board. This we do by flexing our glutes, by using our core muscles and our leg muscles as well. We want to have protraction on the top, and we want to have our elbows going backwards instead of flaring them out. Then we can make the exercise easier by changing up the angles, so we can do incline push-ups, and then we can work our way down to the floor. And we can also change up the lever by doing, for instance, your knee push-ups, and also you can do your negative push-ups as well. So then you go slowly down, you crawl back up, and then you do that for reps. So when it comes to pull-ups and chin-ups, they are slightly different in what they train. So the chin-up is better for your biceps, and you put more focus on the upper back when you are doing pull-ups. With pull-ups, you could focus more on doing retraction, and with a chin-up, usually it's easier to get all the way to the top. You also want to make sure that you do full range of motion, so you want to go all the way down until a dead hang or at least a active hang, and then you want to get your chest as high as possible. You can make the exercise easier by changing up the angles. Then you can do rows with both of the grips, and also you can do banded reps. You can also do holds on the top, and you can do negatives as well. So then you climb up until you're in the top hold, and then you do like 5 to 10 seconds down. You do reps for that as well to get volume in your training. Then you can also make the exercise harder by doing a lot of reps, or you can do weighted reps as well, or you can do extra explosive ones to learn the muscle up, for instance. When we want to learn a V-sit or an I-sit or a L-sit, you will have to do holds because they are static moves in the end. You want to do an easier version of the exercise by doing a tuck version, and then you can slowly bring your feet forward so that in the end you'll have straight legs. You want to have at least 90 degrees in between your legs and your core, and then you want to bring your knees up more and more slowly over time. You can add some reps as well, so you can do your knee raises, and these you can or do to 90 degrees or even higher than that. There's always a balance in between hanging backwards, using your triceps to stay in position, or using compression strength to bring up your legs with your core. The same is the case with doing toe touches on the bar, and then there's a balance in between using your upper back muscles or using compression strength to bring those legs up to touch your toes to the bar. Also, this we can build up by doing a tuck version, and then we can have it at 90 degrees or even higher than that. Also, you can do more reps because in this case we're not talking about a static hold, but we're talking about getting your feet all the way up. We can do negative reps as well, and also we can then build our way up by slowly straightening our legs and doing reps with that. When you have built up the strength to get the knees to the elbows, then you can also try to get your feet all the way to the bar. Then you can also get your feet under the bar and get them through your arms. So if you miss the mobility to get through the arms easily, then you can also cross the legs. This will make it easier. You want to slowly go down and then do a negative basically until you are hanging in the German hang. When you feel that you can't hold it any longer, you can just simply let go of the bar and land on your feet. So what you also can do is you can do reps of skin the cats, and this is actually very important strength to get mobility in the shoulder, which you'll need for the back lever, for instance. And also this is a very hard exercise for the shoulders, so you want to take this easy and build it up bit by bit so that you will prevent injuries. Also, it's very important to train your legs. You can do, for instance, your squats, you can do your lunges, and you can do calf raises as well. With these exercises, it's always important to be balanced, to have a straight back, and to make sure that you don't hurt your knees, that you always have everything under control, and then you don't have any pain. With the squats, first of all, you want to go all the way down until 90 degrees. Then you want to have your knees pointing a little bit outwards, the same direction as the feet are pointing. And then what you want to do is, for instance, some plyometrics to make it harder and jump up onto something, then come down in a controlled manner and then go for reps. What we can do with the lunges, you just step forward, you go down until as well 90 degrees, and then you want to step back up again, and then you can step forward or you can step backwards. There's all kind of variations. Also, when you want to make it harder, you can do a Bulgarian split squat, which is an exercise where you put one of the legs onto a elevated surface and then you do the same exercise basically. You have the calf raises, which you can do on the floor, but also you can make it harder for your balance to do it on top of a surface on the edge. You can do it with one leg, for instance, And all of these exercises you can also do assisted. You can hold onto something, you can use a chair or the wall to assist you, or you can use some TRX bands or some rings as well. What is very nice for your legs is to do some balancing work. So for instance, you can stand on a bar or you can stand on a parallette, and then you can just balance with your arms and with one of your legs and try to hold that for time, for instance. And then of course you want to also do it on both sides.
As a conclusion, we are big fans of calisthenics because we see a lot of potential in it, because it's such an accessible sport and it can bring people together to have a healthy lifestyle and to start exercising more. And also there is something in it for everyone and for each level. Anybody can start with calisthenics, and whether you want to learn a planche or any static hold, or whether you want to do weighted calisthenics or street lifting, whether you want to do endurance or you want to do freestyling, there's something for everyone. But with all of those, you have to consider that you want to prevent injuries, you want to do a good warm-up always, and you want to take into consideration all of the principles that we discussed in this video, and you want to take everything step by step. It's super nice to use the rings, because with gymnastics rings you can always change up the angles, and you can also do all of your basics with it, like your dips, your pull-ups, your chin-ups, your push-ups and your rows as well. If you have a certain goal and you want to go for that goal, you need a structured training program. So you have to surround yourself with friends or people who know what they're talking about. What you could consider is getting a calisthenics program. One that you can check out is, for instance, CaliMove, and CaliMove has programs also which take into consideration the mobility, the stability and the flexibility that you'll need. If you have any question on any of these topics, you can leave them in the comments, and we hope we helped you out today with this video. You can like this video, and we also want to invite you to subscribe, and for the rest we want to thank you for watching. So we see you in the next one, and have a good day.